Oak Hill Country Club, the only club in America to stage the U.S. Open, U.S. Amateur, Ryder Cup, and PGA Championship. Once again, the legendary East Course has put Rochester on the clock to play host for the golf world. The countdown to the 105th PGA Championship begins right now.
Good evening from the trophy room here at Oak Hill Country Club. For the next half hour, we'll dive into how the 2023 PGA Championship will become a major like Rochester has never seen before. We'll talk with the movers and the shakers atop the PGA of America and Oak Hill, plus some of the world's best pros who will go up against the East Course next May. That course itself is going to be a brand new test. There are changes everywhere. Any pro who thinks they know what to expect from Oak Hill is going to be in for quite a surprise. AJ Feldman can explain why.
Oak Hill's members have tackled the East Course for the past 2 years, restored to its original WROC glory. Next year, it'll be the pros' turn.
That's the million-dollar question. Everybody wants to know how the golf course is going to show its teeth.
Holes 5, 6, and 15 have been completely redone. Hole 5, now a par 3. The old 5 is now the 6th, a par 4 that will play over 500 yards. And the pond on 15 has been replaced with a chipping area.
We really tried to keep Oak Hill's historical aspects in regards to the WROC architecture, but also to change it in a way that's acceptable to the modern game of golf.
The removal of hundreds of trees has opened up new sight lines and vistas never seen before. But if you're expecting to see nothing but red numbers as a result...
We don't think so. I think missing trees opens up other areas where the ball can go.
Now they'll have opportunities to hit the greens maybe where they had to pitch out before. And I think the back of the greens are now going to become a lot more in play. And that's where a lot of the runoff areas are now, behind the greens.
Those greens have been completely redone with new drainage technology and are now squarer in shape, which will allow for more pin positions and greater variety come tournament time.
If you look at the green behind us, we only had a couple hole locations before on this green, and it was right in the middle and right in the front middle. And now we've got about 6 or 7 different hole locations we can use on this green alone.
Pluto, Ballard, and Corcoran all singled out the drive at 14 as a new shot they can't wait to see the pros hit. With a new landing area and out of bounds, more in play off of the tee, it could be where the championship is decided.
You can easily make a 2, or you could make a 7. So that'll be interesting to see how many people pull driver out on that hole in 14.
A new course, a new challenge, set to crown a new champion next May. With the countdown to the 105th PGA Championship, I'm AJ Feldman.
I spent last week in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the site of the 2022 PGA Championship, Southern Hills. It's a course that's gone through many changes of its own before hosting a PGA Championship, just like Oak Hill. So the pros I spoke with were already fluent in how they will prepare for their trip to Rochester next May.
It'll be like playing a new golf course, pretty much. I mean, if there's a new layout and they've changed parts of the golf course, I mean, there'd be a sense of the old course in there, but you kind of have to get there and change your game plan.
When it's the PGA like this, and there's been a lot of time since we've been here, it's inevitable that there's going to be quite significant changes. So treat it like it's a completely new week.
If the green complexes are different and you got a lot of different looks there, that's where things get a little bit wonky for us. In the second shots or even third shots in the par 5s and the greens, if that has changed drastically, and now that's a whole different ballgame. Now you have to think, okay, you better have done your homework because it's going to make a huge difference on how you attack the flag or you don't attack the flagstick.
It's tough to get modernizations of golf courses done well, so you can only hope when you do mess with a golf course that's hosted championships and has history that you get it right. And I think they've done a great job here, and hopefully at Oak Hill too.
I think the architects and the designers are trying to adapt to the modern game, and they're trying to figure out things evolve, things change, so the golf course needs to evolve and change along with that.
Duffner joked, by the way, that he wished Oak Hill had kept things the same. We will hear more from the 2013 champ coming up a little later on. The course is far from the only thing that will be new for 23. Fans will be very interested to hear about the concession experience. Oak Hill organizers have something planned that will be brand new for Rochester sports.
In 2013, you would have gone up to a concession booth and bought your hot dog or hamburger, got your Coke, and then went back and stood at the rope and watched golf and ate. Now we have marketplaces where you're going to be able to sit down at a table and chairs with an umbrella, have a big screen TV, and then watch live golf in front of you or also watch it on television.
It's standard practice for the site hosting next year's PGA Championship to have a presence at this year's event. As such, there was a contingent from Oak Hill who spent time last week at Southern Hills. Championship week becomes a de facto conference week for the PGA of America and an opportunity to update many on what's planned for 2023. The trip is also invaluable reconnaissance for the organizers at Oak Hill.
If we take everything into account, we're going to take the whole week, we're going to take every consumer piece into play. I spent the morning just taking off my credential, walking silently amongst the crowd, listening, sitting by concession stands, seeing what they're talking about. We don't want to step in the way of everybody that's final plans for here, but now that they had a chance to open those plans and take a look at them, they're interested. Kind of all eyes turn to Rochester.
Far from done on what's new and different for you, the fan, in 2023. Up next, we'll hear more from the pros on their impression of Rochester. But first, a look back at one of the great moments in Oak Hill Major Championship history. Countdown to the 105th PGA Championship returns after this. In 1995, the 31st Ryder Cup matches came to Rochester and Oak Hill. On Saturday, Corey Pavin's unlikely birdie at number 18 gave the Americans what seemed a comfortable lead. But on Sunday, Curtis Strange missed this par on 18, losing to Nick Faldo. One misstep of many for Team USA, touching off a Euro win and a celebration that still echoes today. Back in 2003, Tiger Woods gave Oak Hill about the highest praise possible. He called it the toughest, fairest course he's ever played. The Rochester golf community and Oak Hill have a ton of respect on tour, and the latter generates a healthy dose of something else.
Fear, rough up around your ankles, trying to figure out how to wedge it out and make par the hard way.
It's just a big, strong golf course. It's just your traditional American type golf course. Big test of golf.
I've played 2 majors at Oak Hill, and I think I've played 4 rounds. So not a lot of great things pop into my mind about playing there as far as my performance, but I know it's a great course, and I always look forward to going back to courses like that.
It's the type of golf course that I like playing. Big old American courses, tree line, and it's in a beautiful part of the world as well. Could be a little colder in May next year. We're used to playing there in August.
To me, there's a lot of similarities between Rochester and Hazeltine up in Minnesota, just because there are so many people on the grounds, and it's a fairly confined space. But I mean, everywhere you look, there's just people everywhere.
Crowd's always big, energetic. I feel obviously somewhat starved for it. So every time you get a big championship, people come in droves. So it's a fun town to play in.
One thing John Daly mentioned is that he thinks the course will play a whole lot longer in May than it would have in August. Now, there's no doubt hosting a PGA Championship is a great thing for Rochester. But what is the benefit to having a major in town? Well, Carl Jones set out to answer exactly that.
The last time Tiger Woods played in Rochester was in 2013. His hopeful return next year to Oak Hill puts a smile on a few golfers in the area.
Tiger was real big back then, obviously, but for me, that was the most fun was watching Tiger. But with Tiger being back, you can only hope that he's going to be out there. That's the person I want to follow, so it's exciting stuff.
It will be the 4th time in history that Oak Hill will host a PGA Championship, and every time it comes back, it gives all of Rochester something to be prideful about.
I think it's great. They could go anywhere. They could go anywhere in America, and they chose here. So, we ought to take pride in that.
Having family in Arizona, having the Waste Management Open there, my family's always like, oh, you got to come out, you got to come see it. And it's like, for once, like, no, you got to come to Rochester, you got to come see the PGA.
Local golfers in the area aren't the only people excited for the PGA Championship to return. The businesses in the area stand to see a huge jump in revenue with the major coming back here at Oak Hill. But how high?
If you go back to 2013, the last championship was about $102 million of an impact. Fast forward today, I would say probably north of 150. If you're an Uber driver, if you have an Airbnb, if you are selling merchandise, if you work at a restaurant, you name every aspect of that area, and probably a few square miles of Oak Hill will benefit greatly.
I think other country clubs look to Oak Hill to bring these championships to the community, because it just helps the golf. It helps golf become more of a sport for everybody.
Beyond the economic impact, some say that they hope that being able to watch the PGA Championship in person will inspire the youth to play the game themselves.
Compared like to the NBA or MLB, you can kind of go out and see a game. There's so many that happen all the time. So catching an NBA game, an NFL game, Bills game is so much easier than catching a professional golf event.
With a countdown to the 105th PGA Championship, I'm Carl Jones.
There's been concern that major golf may not return to Rochester after next May. It's exacerbated by the PGA Championship move from August to the less stable weather month of May. I spoke with PGA of America President Jim Richardson about Rochester's long-term future. His organization has a responsibility to the 28,000 teaching pros in America to hold a successful championship. He offers optimism that can still happen in Rochester.
It's our biggest week of the year from a commercial standpoint, and some of the revenues we're able to derive from that are what we're able to do for the game of golf and for our members throughout the year. So we need it to be successful. We make sure we go to facilities and communities that can partner to make it successful. We expect it's going to be a huge success, and anytime we have a huge success and really welcoming and easy partners to deal with, those are individuals we want to keep doing business with.
Coming up next, we'll explain how Rochester developed an extraordinary bond with many at the PGA of America. Plus, more on how championship planners expect to shock and awe fans descending upon Oak Hill next May. Countdown to the 105th PGA Championship returns after a break. Left of the 18th fairway on the East Course at Oak Hill is a plaque that commemorates one of the greatest shots in major championship history. Shawn Michield's 7-iron from 175 yards that closed out his 2003 PGA Championship. Michield began the week 169th in the world, but that day on the East Course, he was number 1. Next year's PGA Championship is vitally important to both Rochester and Oak Hill. The move from August to May puts a large wrinkle in a championship roadmap that's become very familiar to both the club and the PGA of America. The goal for both sides is to continue improving upon that map while keeping Oak Hill Majors the celebration golf deserves, and also whetting the appetite for more. Even after welcoming a dozen world-level golf events, being a major host is not something Oak Hill members take for granted.
It means a lot to them. I think it's a lot of pride. It's a lot of pride being involved.
That major responsibility means the club must be open to new ideas, even after the old ones have worked so well. And so far,
they've done it every step of the way.
For example,
typically we never touch the West Course for the championships. We left that open for the membership, but now we are entering into the West Course for the what would be the TV compound. And that's because the TV compound went from 4 acres to almost 8 acres now, so we had to find a new place for them.
We continue to evolve, just like the US Open, just like the Masters, just like the Open Championship. We're always evolving, and so you have to move along with that. It's getting competitive.
Fans will see it too. Ride sharing is coming to an Oak Hill Major for the first time in 2023. More video screens, more interactive apps. Concessions will be less food truck and more outdoor food court.
The overall look and feel will look way more modern than any previous championship here. All of our infrastructure will kind of go like this, almost if you were to think of a stadium, but in, you know, open air grass and trees and the whole bit. The roars will travel quicker and faster.
Each major naturally becomes an audition to host another. Not only will the PGA of America be watching how the restored course fares, but also the USGA, which is in charge of the U.S. Amateur that returns to Rochester in 2027, and of course the U.S. Open.
When you've got commitment on behalf of a membership and leadership, that's generations. You've got leadership in the community, and then you've got just fan fun. That makes for a perfect environment.
We are on target to have record attendance. We are on target to have record hospitality.
The community knows the importance. They love it. They're into it. They want more championships. And Oak Hill, as a membership, wouldn't necessarily have to do this, but it's part of their culture. It's part of their history. They're committed to it.
Every PGA of America event at Oak Hill has its own championship director. That includes the Senior PGA and the Ryder Cup, along with the PGA Championship. These directors arrive in town 2 years early. They live here. They bring their family here. We reconnected with some of the past championship directors in Rochester for their unique perspective on this town and its support for golf. We're pretty sure this is something that'll make you smile.
It was so bittersweet when I found out that I was going to stay in Tulsa, my hometown, 15 years later from when I was an intern here, to be able to do this in this role. Honestly, the first feeling I had was just sadness that I wasn't going to go back to Rochester. I kid you not.
I lived up in Webster. I always remember Wegmans. I mean, I miss Wegmans so much. It's like you can't duplicate that anywhere.
My wife and I had never been to Rochester. My wife was pregnant with our daughter Lucy, and she was born at Strong. And to this day, she still says, Dad, I'm a New Yorker.
My favorite course in the world is actually Oak Hill East. I love it. I think that the design there is fantastic. But the members are great. I mean, they made me feel like I was part of it, and they made sure that me and my family was always welcome to it.
They push the envelope, they push hard, and they're passionate about their golf course. And they're the best in class.
There's a fraternity of guys that talk about Thirsties and Oak Hill and playing and everything about that venue. And it's such a special place. And, I just feel fortunate to have been there for at least 2 years.
When we return, as promised, more with the last man to win a major in Rochester, Jason Duffner, whose approach to being a major champion is surprising and even a bit inspiring. Countdown to the 105th PGA Championship is back after this. In 1980, Jack Nicklaus utterly dominated the PGA Championship at Oak Hill. He was the lone man under par at 6 under and won by 7 shots.
Make that 11 pars and 2 birdies.
Nicklaus earned his 5th and final Wanamaker Trophy, tying Rochester's Walter Hagen for the all-time PGA Championship record. Back in 2012, we caught up with the 2003 PGA champion here in Rochester, Sean McKeel. He spoke at length about the moment and how much different his life had become. The 2013 champion in Rochester, Jason Duffner, tells a much different story, but no less fascinating.
Jason, right here, please.
Jason Duffner says he doesn't often think about his PGA championship victory at Oak Hill.
Obviously, I'm way past 10 years now down the road in a different place in my career, but obviously I always have a special place in my golfing history with Oak Hill.
Duffner appreciates how precious a major win is.
Professionally, it's a great accomplishment and definitely a special club.
But it wasn't life-changing. Swinging a club is just Duffner's job.
I try to not identify my life as a golfer. I try to not take too much value either way, good or bad, into my personal life with golf. And when I'm out here, I try to compete and work hard at being a professional golfer and leave it at that.
The public perception of Duffner has always been somewhere between low-key and just straight emotionless. But that might be less truth and more what he allows to be seen.
People only really identify with what we do as a professional golfer, right? I'm pretty private for the most part, so people don't really know who I am as a person. They only see me as a professional golfer. So I try to keep them separate the best I can.
The golf has not been at a major level lately. Duffner has missed 11 of 14 cuts to start this season. He's determined but realistic.
Are my days being a top 10 player in the world past me? Probably. But, I can still compete a little bit, I think, at times when things are clicking.
Duffner is very much looking forward to next year's return to Oak Hill, where his face will always be on the club's wall of champions. But Duffner won't be preoccupied being that person.
Well, I'll always be proud of what I did, and I always check off a box of accomplishments that I wanted to do starting out as a professional golfer. But I don't carry it too long, and I don't put too much weight into it as a person.
No one has more experience with major championship golf at Oak Hill than John Kutchko. Next year will be the 8th world or national level event he's covered in Rochester. No one is more qualified to explain why these moments and this club are so special.
Unlike so many Rochester area icons, Oak Hill Country Club has stood the test of time, maintaining its global position as one of the best of the best. The championship tradition began here at Oak Hill in 1956, and every 10 years or so since, this world-class venue, steeped in so much history on many levels, has remained one of the premier venues in golf. In an era where more and more major championships are being contested near large metropolitan locales or destination spots, Pittsford, Rochester, and Oak Hill forge ahead, remaining in that elusive rotation to draw the top golfers in the world here. The times have changed. The Championship East course has changed as well. But Oak Hill's reputation has not. It remains one of the finest clubs anywhere.
If you want tickets to the 105th PGA Championship, the ticket registry is now open. You can sign up at rochesterfirst.com or at pga.com, but only until June 5th. Tickets will go on sale soon after. Thanks for watching tonight. For John Kutchko, AJ Feldman, and Carl Jones, I'm Thad Brown saying good night. And remember, the countdown to the 105th PGA Championship has only just begun.